Jeff Bezos didn't just build a company. He built a system so powerful that it trained hundreds of millions of people to behave differently without them ever noticing. Today, Amazon makes more money every hour than most companies make in a year. It decides what you see, what you buy, how fast you get it, and increasingly, how the internet itself works. But here's the part most people miss. Amazon wasn't built by genius ideas, viral products, or luck. It was built by deliberately losing money, breaking rules that everyone else followed, and playing a game so long-term that competitors didn't even realize they were already dead. And the scariest part? Jeff Bezos planned most of it before Amazon ever sold a single book. By the end of this story, you'll understand something most people still don't. You'll understand why Amazon didn't try to win early. Why Jeff Bezos was perfectly fine looking stupid, reckless, even incompetent for years, and why every time competitors thought Amazon was bleeding out, it was actually getting stronger. You'll see how Bezos turned losses into weapons, patience into leverage, and scale into a trap no one could escape. This isn't a motivational story about believing in yourself. It's a blueprint for building power so quietly that by the time the world notices, resistance is pointless. And once you see the pattern, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Because Amazon wasn't an accident. It was inevitable. In the mid-1990s, the internet felt like a toy, a curiosity, something academics used, something nerds argued about in chat rooms. Most serious businesses treated it like a side project at best, a joke at worst. In 1994, he was sitting comfortably in New York, working at D. Shaw, an elite Wall Street hedge fund where everyone was brilliant, overpaid, and allergic to unnecessary risk. Bezos had already won the game most people spend their lives chasing. Senior VP by 30. Financial security. Prestige. A future paved in bonuses and promotions. Then he saw one number. Internet usage was growing at 2,300% per year. Not 23%. Not 230%. 2,300. That wasn't growth. That was an explosion. Bezos didn't get emotional. He didn't start pitching dreams or talking about changing the world. He did what he always did. He built a list. 20 possible businesses that could exist purely on the internet. And one idea kept rising to the top. Books. Not because books were exciting. Because they were perfect. Millions of titles. Standardized products. Easy to ship. Impossible for any physical store to stock fully. Books were the widest catalog on earth, and the internet didn't have shelves. So Bezos ran the math. If he could build the biggest bookstore in the world online, everything else could come later. When he told his boss he was leaving to sell books on the internet, the response was polite and devastating. "That sounds like a great idea," his boss said, "for someone who doesn't already have a great job." Jeff thanked him and quit anyway. That decision alone filtered him from 99% of people. Because Bezos wasn't chasing comfort. He was chasing asymmetry. He knew the downside was limited. He could fail, return to finance, and still be fine. But the upside? If it worked, it would rewrite commerce itself. So he packed up his life, convinced his wife Mackenzie to take the leap with him, and drove across the country to Seattle in a beat-up Chevy Blazer. While Mackenzie drove, Jeff sat in the passenger seat typing the business plan. Not dreaming, not manifesting, typing. The company almost had a different name. Cadabra, like abracadabra, until someone misheard it as cadaver. That was enough to kill it. Eventually, he chose Amazon, not because it sounded cool, but because it started with A and symbolized something massive and unstoppable. From the outside, it looked humble. A garage, a desk made from a door, a few employees packing boxes on their knees. From the inside, it was ferocious. Amazon launched in 1995, and orders started coming in almost immediately. Bezos rang a bell every time someone bought a book. At first, it was fun. Then it became annoying. Then impossible. Orders were coming in from all 50 states. Then dozens of countries. People weren't just buying books. They were discovering something new. Convenience. Speed. Control. You didn't need to ask a clerk. You didn't need to drive. You didn't need to settle for what was available. You clicked, and it arrived. Amazon wasn't selling books. It was selling time. By 1997, Amazon went public. The company still wasn't profitable, but Wall Street didn't care. This was the dot-com era. Everything with .com slapped on it was worth billions. Analysts laughed at Bezos' strategy. Amazon doesn't make money. They discount everything. They'll never survive. Bezos didn't argue. He warned investors, in writing, that Amazon might fail. That wasn't humility. That was insulation. Because while everyone else was chasing short-term profit, Bezos was doing something far more dangerous. He was reinvesting everything. Every dollar went back into growth. Better servers, bigger warehouses, faster shipping, lower prices. Amazon expanded from books into CDs, DVDs, toys, electronics. Not because it made sense in the short term, but because it trained customers to think one thing. If I need anything, I go to Amazon. Then Bezos did something that seemed insane. He added customer reviews. Letting people criticize products on your own website felt suicidal. But Bezos believed transparency created trust, and trust created habit. People stayed longer. They bought more. They stopped leaving. Amazon wasn't just a store anymore. It was becoming a destination. And from the outside, everything looked great. The stock was rising. The brand was growing. The future looked limitless. But under the surface, something was quietly going wrong. And almost no one noticed. By the late 1990s, Amazon looked unstoppable. Revenue was exploding. Customers loved the brand. The media crowned Jeff Bezos the face of the internet economy. But behind the headlines, Amazon was bleeding. Every order shipped at a loss. Every discount ate into margins that barely existed. Every expansion required more warehouses, more staff, more servers. Amazon wasn't profitable, and worse, it didn't care. Jeff Bezos kept repeating the same message to investors. We are focused on the long term. Wall Street heard something else. Trust me. And for a while, that was enough. The dot-com bubble was in full mania. Companies with no revenue, no customers, and no products were going public at billion-dollar valuations. Amazon, at least, actually sold things. That gave Bezos cover. But underneath, the math was terrifying. Amazon's expenses were growing faster than its revenue. Its logistics network was fragile. Its survival depended on cheap capital and endless belief. Then came 1999. Competitors started flooding in. Every bookstore launched a website. Every retailer rushed online. Pets.com, Webvan, eToys, money was flying everywhere. And Amazon kept expanding anyway. Bezos made one of his most controversial decisions yet, Amazon Marketplace. Instead of blocking competitors, he invited them onto Amazon's platform. Third-party sellers could list products right next to Amazon's own inventory. To outsiders, this looked insane. Why help competitors undercut you? But Bezos saw something others didn't. Marketplace turned Amazon into infrastructure. Amazon didn't need to own inventory anymore. It didn't need to predict demand. It just needed to own the customer. Every seller added selection. Every sale generated data. Every click taught Amazon what people wanted before they even knew it themselves. Still, Wall Street wasn't convinced. Amazon stock climbed above $100. Then reality hit. March 2000. The dot-com bubble burst. Stocks collapsed overnight. Capital vanished. Faith turned into fear. Amazon stock fell from over $100 to $6. Headlines mocked it. Amazon.bomb. Burning cash. Months from bankruptcy. Investors panicked. Suppliers tightened terms. Employees feared layoffs. Inside Amazon, the mood flipped instantly. No more experimentation. No more indulgence. Survival mode. Bezos slashed costs aggressively. Projects were killed. Teams were cut. Hiring froze. Amazon had built itself to grow, not to endure. And now endurance was the only thing that mattered. Most dot-com companies didn't make it through this phase. They vanished. Pets.com collapsed. Webvan imploded. eToys died. Amazon barely survived. But something critical happened during that pain. Bezos learned restraint. He learned discipline. He learned that scale without control is suicide. And when the dust settled, Amazon emerged scarred, but alive. Still unprofitable. Still doubted. Still dangerous. Because now, Bezos wasn't just ambitious. He was hardened. And what came next wasn't growth fueled by hype. It was growth fueled by systems. The calm before something far more powerful. After the dot-com crash, Amazon wasn't supposed to exist. On paper, the company made no sense. It had survived, but just barely. Profitability was still a rumor, not a reality. Wall Street didn't see a phoenix. They saw a zombie. Amazon's losses were massive. Its growth had slowed. Its stock was radioactive. Competitors smelled blood. Walmart started building its online presence aggressively. Traditional retailers doubled down on physical stores and better margins. Analysts warned customers Amazon would disappear quietly. Inside the company, pressure was suffocating. Warehouses were expensive. Shipping costs were brutal. Customers expected faster delivery for free. Every order felt like a small financial wound. And then Bezos made another decision that looked suicidal. He doubled down. Instead of shrinking Amazon to safety, he expanded its most expensive weakness: logistics. New fulfillment centers. More automation. More control over delivery. Why? Because Bezos understood something few others did. Retail wasn't about selling products. It was about owning speed. If Amazon could deliver faster, cheaper, and more reliably than anyone else, customers wouldn't compare prices anymore. They would default to Amazon. So Amazon invested billions it didn't have into infrastructure it couldn't yet afford. This wasn't reckless optimism. It was calculated dominance. Then came the move that nearly broke the company in half. Amazon Prime. Free 2-day shipping. Unlimited. No minimum order. Analysts called it madness. Shipping was already Amazon's biggest cost. Now Bezos was making it free. Investors revolted. Competitors laughed. But Bezos wasn't selling shipping. He was selling habit. Prime wasn't a subscription. It was a behavioral lock. Once customers paid upfront, they felt compelled to use Amazon more often, just to justify the fee. More orders. Less comparison. Total dependence. And it worked. Prime customers bought more, returned more often, and stopped browsing elsewhere. Amazon stopped being a store. It became muscle memory. Still, profitability remained elusive. Then, quietly, something extraordinary happened. Amazon's internal engineering teams were struggling to manage their own infrastructure. Servers crashed. Systems couldn't scale. So they built tools to fix it. Flexible storage. Elastic computing. On-demand capacity. At first, it was just for internal survival. Then someone asked a dangerous question. What if we sold this? That question created Amazon Web Services. In 2006, AWS launched almost unnoticed. No hype. No flashy marketing. Just raw utility. Developers loved it. Startups depended on it. Entire companies were suddenly built on Amazon's servers. While critics focused on Amazon's retail losses, AWS quietly printed cash. High margins. Recurring revenue. Infinite scale. Amazon wasn't losing money anymore. It was redistributing it. Retail trained customers. Logistics crushed competitors. AWS funded everything. By the time Wall Street realized what had happened, it was too late. Amazon wasn't one business. It was three, and each one fed the others. Jeff Bezos didn't build Amazon by being smarter than everyone else. He built it by being more patient. While competitors chased profit, Bezos chased leverage. While others optimized margins, he optimized systems. While everyone else tried to win today, he was building tomorrow's default. Amazon didn't beat companies. It outlasted them. It absorbed their customers, learned their weaknesses, and removed the need for alternatives. The real lesson isn't think big. It's this: if you control infrastructure, you control outcomes. Amazon controls how things are bought, how they're delivered, how they're hosted, how they're recommended. By the time regulators noticed, the system was already everywhere. Jeff Bezos didn't disappear after building Amazon. He stepped away because the machine no longer needed him. And that's the final irony. The most powerful companies don't rely on charisma. They rely on mechanisms. Amazon wasn't built on inspiration. It was built on inevitability. And once you see that pattern, you'll start spotting the next Amazons before anyone else does.